Ancient as the Stars, a Broken Union novel by MayaDarjani. Read by MayaDarjani. Copyright 2024 by MayaDarjani. The story, all names, characters, and incidents portrayed in this production are fictitious. No identification with actual persons, living or deceased, places, buildings, and products is intended or should be inferred. Except for you, Tristan. You know who you are. Author's note: a warning to the reader. This book contains subject material that may be disturbing or upsetting, including emotional and physical abuse, self-harm, and terrorist violence. Also, gratuitous profanity. Sorry, Mom. Epigraph. Time heals all wounds. Some asshole, probably. Chapter 1. Wren's horrible, not so good day. Karenna Yilmaz, the 24th century, on Earth Sailship Hawking. Wren was in danger. Not really. Not really, Wren. Calm the fuck down. But she stood at attention in Commander Donald Riley's office, and her endocrine system thought she was in danger, and fuck the ancients, Wren. You're supposed to be this tough bitch, and God's help if you break down crying in Donald fucking Riley's office. Donald's office stood well appointed, but small, situated next to the captain's on the bridge. Family heirlooms and mementos filled his shelves. The Rileys of New York were a large elite clan. Everything proved tasteful in his office. Tasteful old-style hardback books, tasteful plant, tasteful depiction of the Union's home planet and colonies. Donald matched the aesthetic with a patrician nose and coiffed blonde hair. In Donald's presence, it was important to be sophisticated, refined. Donald looked up from the report he was studying, taking his sweet-ass time. "You assaulted a superior officer," he declared. Assault. If she weren't at attention, she would have snorted, their derision momentarily displacing her paralyzing fear. Lieutenant Commander Lanson, that get-la-lezzy, wouldn't know assault if it hit him in the head with a sandwich, which is what she had chucked at him. But there was none of that, of course, because she stood stiff at attention and wasn't allowed to talk or, in fact, move a muscle. Oh, screw it. "Look, Commander." "No, Yilmaz." She clenched her lips. Donald didn't outwardly respond to her obvious breach of protocol, but the winds shifted. Wren beheld it with the practiced air of someone alert to supernova explosions from angry men. Donald, of course, was the source of her flashing danger Karenna Yilmaz senses. Years of conditioning. Wren's penultimate superior officer also happened to be her ex-husband. Irony, thy name was the hollow promise of love. As it was, in her imagination, she was this breezy, sassy snark bucket. But in reality, here she was, trying to not betray her shallow breathing, her hammering heart, her bladder suddenly full. Because Donald could hurt her. Not physically, well, he could, but he wouldn't. But it would take just one remark to, ouch, tear her apart. Donald read off his codex, detailing all the dire misfortunes that were about to befall her. And yes, this was her life. The classic star that flamed out too early, who gave up on her career, who used words and scowls as armor, standing humbling in front of a man she used to love who could hurt her, maybe, but wouldn't, maybe. And because she stood expressionless, she projected the rude wench attitude she had carefully cultivated, and Donald Riley was none the wiser she was falling apart inside. So on she continued, at attention, made of stone. Gods, she was dramatic. Donald's office was like some hermetically sealed, mood-altering chamber where she went in and questioned all her life choices. But after leaving, and after she controlled her shakes, it was like she could just, kick herself right in the face and rev back up, because, baby, if she didn't act fabulous, then who else would? Who was she kidding? Not too skittish then, and not too fabulous. Just Wren. Plain old Wren. And here she now stood, in a large barrel, literally up to her shins covered in fertilizer. This assignment really stunk. One of Denold's inspired disciplinary measures, of course. Assigned to the cramped agricultural shoot-off alcove of the cargo bay, doing grunt work. Not that she was too good for this type of work. Everyone on a sail ship had to pull weight beyond their official assignment. But still, why couldn't it be kitchen duty or swabbing the deck? Stirring the shit. That's what she was doing. The fertilizer mixer was on the fritz, so she was trying her hand at repair. First step, unfortunately, figuring out if something had gotten stuck. She reached into the machine and felt around, but her thick gloves made it impossible to detect anything. She'd practically kitted up like she was going EVA. Heavy coveralls, wellies up to her knees, the gloves. If only she had an oxygen mask. It was a curse working for an exo who knew her squeamishness so well. Fertilizer was no big deal to most people, but it was smelly and clumpy and a wee bit goopy. Nothing for it. Gloves off. She winced as her hand slid through the grainy nodules and into the machine cavity. Definitely clogged. Out in the spacious main bay, clanks and curses as technicians prepared for Hawking's jump test, bolting everything down before spin gravity slowed and came to an eventual stop. If it were a real jump, the weightlessness would be momentary until thrust grav took over, but in this case, they were merely testing the drive. She wriggled bare fingers through a narrow hole, and there they found purchase. Small, cylindrical glass? She pulled it out and examined. Shatterproof, likely, but not unbreakable. A miracle it hadn't cracked in there. Hey, Yilmaz! She startled, wobbling her new discovery. She recovered and sighed in exasperation. What, sir? She added, eventually placing him and his lieutenant rank. We're starting the spin down for the engine gear. He looked her up and down, nose wrinkled. Ahead of schedule. Great, she said brightly. I'm done, and you're already gone. Well, it was fun being visible, for even the moment. The ship wasn't in the optimal location for an FTL jump. The far side of the Kuiper Belt was outside the solar system's heliopause, but barely. But this test was a spin down, then activating the drive without going anywhere, in order to study the effects in surrounding space. She returned to contemplating the tiny ampule, a hint of memory struggling to the forefront. Wasn't it a few months ago? Lanson, insisting he had a source leave something important in the cargo bay. In the composite. They'd searched the building material in the bay and nothing. The source was deemed a hack. Lanson embarrassed. Composite, compost, fertilizer? It was a stretch. But the item was supposed to be a scientific discovery, smuggled out of Tau City, designed to change the nature of propulsion, the source had claimed. Could this be it? A thrum as the bay shuddered, the slowdown. She hastily covered up the fertilizer drum and engaged its maglocks, time to peel her coveralls off and get the hells out of there. But what to do with the vial? Easy. There was a box of evidence kits readily available in the bay, kits that would furthermore cushion and protect the vial from inadvertent breakage. But Lanson, redeemed. And no credit given to her, obviously, for actually finding the damn thing. Changing the nature of propulsion. You know who needed that more than the Union? Her home planet, Corrales, a Union colony planning to make a bid for independence. And if Corrales seceded, it wouldn't get the Union's proprietary FTL drive mix, not without an exorbitant cost. She could discredit Lanson and help her homeland at the same time. Did she have the guts? Did she? No, she didn't. Instead, she exited into the main cargo bay, grabbed an evidence kit, and filled out a short description. Now that she'd pulled the kit, it was immediately tagged and logged as pending. No turning back now. The vial belonged to the Union, not Corrales. The blare of an alarm cut through the background chatter. Another shudder, this time not from the module stalling. A Master Chief jumped on top a pile of crates. Find a place to strap in. Got a proximity alert. Now, he bellowed. Move, people. She shoved the bottle into the padded kit and scrunched it into her pocket. She held her ears as the ship's faster-than-light Albertson Bradley drive started up. That shouldn't have happened yet. The spin-down wasn't complete, but she could swear the drive turned on and that the ship was beginning to move. The ship was not supposed to be moving. What in Neptune's nutsack? She'd know the whine of that engine anywhere, but it sounded wrong, more pitched. She felt that subtle squeeze everyone experienced when the ship went into drive mode. But then it intensified. The pressure encased her, a bully holding her down, like she was being simultaneously pressed into nothingness and also exploded into existence. Then it stopped, like nothing had happened. Eons seemed to pass. Around her, chatter began anew, grunts of exertion. The squeal of containers pushed back into place. The backup generator must have cut on. Warning lights flashed yellow and red, but seemed washed out. She blinked, but her view remained blurry and watery, and she could swear, in the haze, she saw the future. Time stood still. Maybe literally, maybe not. Maybe in her imagination, or maybe not. She experienced an unidentifiable something. A feeling. A hand. Just out of reach. It spoke of family. It spoke love. Magic wasn't real. Magic didn't exist. Right? But this felt like magic. Like a hovering, mystical presence that would blanket her with comfort, if only she could possess it. A siren's call, pulling her towards something greater. Something better. Something... She must have fallen then, because when she came fully to her senses, she was sprawled on the ground. The Master Chief stood over her, clucking. "You didn't strap in." She sat up laboriously, groaning as her stomach twinged. "I didn't have time. What?" She coughed. "What in the stomach-dropping, nipple-twisting shit is going on?" He looked up and over, speaking as if from a million light years away. "Not getting much from the big heads up on the bridge, but my department head said something about another one of those anomalies. That's all I've got." Her forehead seized in pain. Irk. She reached into her pocket for her little discovery, hopefully snug and secure in the evidence kit. It would be up to the lab techs now to extract it and inspect it, ensuring it hadn't broken. She took a few minutes before attempting to move further. A great perk of being a nobody, the ship folding into an existential triangle was someone else's problem. Thank the gods the fertilizer hadn't spilled. Wren stripped off the coveralls she had been wearing over her uniform and chucked them in the incinerator, gagging at the smell. By the time Wren rolled her bedraggled, freckled ass onto the watch floor 30 minutes later, she had already detoured twice due to hull breaches. Her auburn hair hung loose and tangled, and she tucked a strand behind her ear, trying for calm. Wren warily sank into her station, she, a lowly intel tech, the department's admin bitch. She tried to log on to see what the heck had happened. The chief had said something about another anomaly. Those had been happening all over this sector, tearing up bits of space. Part of the reason for their engine test today, in fact. "Yilmaz, you look like shit." Lanson. That pelvic hobgoblin. Short as one, too. Weasley. "Breathe, Wren. Breathe. Don't kill your supervisor. Not yet, anyway." "Found something for you, Lanson." Wordlessly, she held out the evidence bag. Lanson reared back, and Wren sighed. I know, but trust me, you want to take it. It's the dead drop you've been looking for months." He gaped, looking back and forth between the bag, still held out suspended on her fingers, and her face. She could practically see the calculations going on behind his eyes. Why is she helping me? Will she ask for something in return? She probably should at that. Lanson reached out with bony fingers, and she quickly snatched the bag back. His eyes returned to hers, wary. "Access," she explained simply. "Get my classified credentials back, and I won't mention how you confused composite for compost." "Fine," he growled. "Now give it here." "Not now. Access first." He stepped closer, and there it was, the first inkling of miscalculation, like the first hateful stirrings of a urinary tract infection. Raw, throbbing. I know what you did, he said, that day at the comms array. Her stomach dropped, but she forced herself to smirk. You don't know shit. Fine, I can bring my suspicions to Riley then. He waggled his eyebrows, knowing he had something, whatever it was, on her. Damn it. Wordlessly, Wren handed him the vial. Don't forget to fill out the paperwork. You're technically now first in the chain of custody. Lanson waved noncommittedly and left her then, whistling tunelessly. She should be angry, livid, defeated. But instead, Wren's mind returned to the vision. That feeling right before she passed out in the cargo bay. Who knew what it was? But it had left her jittery, giddy yet wary. Despite her exhaustion and general desire to not do anything else for the rest of this goddamn day, she looked wistfully at the activity around her. All the other ensigns and flight officers and lieutenant junior grades bustling near her, ignoring her, doing their own very important work. And she wished. She missed having a place in the universe. Close her eyes, pray upon a star. Wish she may, wish she might. Family, home, a place. Whatever she felt next to a tub of fertilizer in the bowels of a sailship. One day, she was going to be somebody. One day.